Mark Carney faced questions today about Saudi Arabia's human rights record during his visit to the Middle East nation. Justin Trudeau's government criticized the kingdom in 2018 over its treatment of women's rights activists, and relations hit a deep freeze. The two countries only re-established diplomatic ties in 2023. Now Carney is looking to boost trade and investment with one of the key players in the Persian Gulf region.
Today in Jeddah, we are building partnerships with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, harnessing the ambitions of our nations to catalyze greater security, prosperity, and opportunity for both our peoples. We signed, Canadian and Saudi businesses have signed 13 new commercial agreements across education, critical minerals and mining, energy, infrastructure, security, artificial intelligence.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is tracking Mark Carney's visit to Saudi Arabia from Ottawa. He has more on how Carney is addressing questions about Saudi Arabia's human rights record during his visit to that country.
Quite a bit differently than we might have expected his predecessor to talk about these issues, Andrew. You noted 2018 as the sort of starting point of the bad era of relationships between Canada and Saudi Arabia. Yes, Carney's predecessor, Justin Trudeau, his government had spoken out about the treatment of political prisoners, the treatment of women, the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And, well, Carney was asked, what's changed, right? What's going on now? I mean, in 2023, Canada did reopen its embassy in Saudi Arabia after an ambassador was previously kicked out over these differences. Carney essentially said that era of public critiques is over. Have a listen.
I do see that lecturing countries from afar is an ineffective strategy. It's satisfying, but it's ineffective. Engagement can be effective. It doesn't mean it's always effective. It doesn't mean it's decisive, but it can be effective.
Carney was also asked where he sees examples of Saudi Arabia's reforms. He pointed to women in the workforce as one place where the kingdom has improved. According to the World Bank's data sets, that's a 33% employment rate. Carney said that a few years ago it had been a lot lower than 10%. He was also asked specifically if he brought up the plight of Raif Badawi, a formerly imprisoned Saudi blogger who was released in 2022. Badawi has some ties to Canada. His spouse is here. Carney was asked if he brought up Badawi's plight to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in their discussion, and he said that discussion is private and he does not want to get into it.
On the business side of things, what do we know about the agreements Canada and Saudi Arabia signed?
Yeah, I mean, this is not the start of a free trade agreement negotiation, but Mark Carney certainly seems very optimistic about it. He said the agreements are worth altogether more than $1 billion. He talked about various sectors involving different Canadian companies. He cited education, infrastructure, talking about the expertise of Canadian companies in building roadways and networks. And he was particularly focused also on critical minerals, again citing Canadian expertise. Earlier in the day, we had heard him talk about how the Canadian government is sort of trying to give that sector in Canada a bit of a boost in the arm, and he suggested that Saudi Arabia could well do the same. We also heard talk of that sector from the head of the Canada-Saudi Business Council. Let's listen to what he had to say.
One of my companies is investing in exploration, early stage exploration in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is a whole new industry for the kingdom because oil was so easy, stick a straw in the ground and oil comes up. Mining is a Canadian specialty. And Saudi Arabia in the last 5-6 years has embarked on making mining their second pillar. This is critical minerals that they can work with Canada. This is Canadian engineering, Canadian know-how, Canadian capital markets like the Toronto Stock Exchange.
Carney is the first Canadian Prime Minister to go to Saudi Arabia in 26 years. The last one was Jean Chrétien 5 Prime Ministers ago, and certainly way before that era of frosty relationships we were talking about. Carney now saying he expects these visits to continue. He made a joke about how good the military band in Saudi Arabia was at playing the Canadian anthem, given that they've never had to play O Canada, or certainly not had to do it in a very long time. He said he hopes that they will keep performing it, as in more Canadian delegations will keep visiting Andrew.
The CBC's Ravi Boudjikanian in Ottawa.